Syria has plunged into a full-scale civil war, so says the head of the UN peacekeeping operation there. He added that fighting had reached a previously unseen ferocity as government forces seek to blunt a nationwide offensive by the rebels who had withdrawn from the internationally backed ceasefire. Marina Portnaya has more now on developments at the UN.
The UN peacekeeping chief, Hervé Latsou, who recently made those comments saying that the conflict in Syria is now a civil war. He is the first UN official to have made that type of declaration following the 15 months of violence taking place and escalating in Syria. Now, of course, his words can carry a lot of political weight inside of the Security Council, where the US and its Western allies are pushing for sanctions against the Assad government. Now, this has been a campaign ongoing for months now, the U.S. pretty much leading it, trying to get Russia and China to agree on international sanctions against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Up until this point, Russia and China have opposed any type of international pressure in the form of sanctions, instead referring to Kofi Annan's six-point peace plan and fully supporting that. So, of course, these statements coming from a top UN official declaring civil war in Syria can be a game changer within the Security Council in the days ahead. You have to remember that the 90-day mission of 300 unarmed observers in Syria was adopted under the idea that there would be a ceasefire in Syria. If there is no ceasefire, what is there left for the UN observers to be monitoring? And that is something that the UN peacekeeping chief, Mr. Latsou, also stated. We should mention that the UN said that 3 UN vehicles were fired upon when monitors were trying to enter the Syrian town of Al-Hafa on Tuesday. According to the UN, the crowds were throwing rocks and metal rods, and also there were shots fired at the cars. Nobody was injured, but clearly this increases the amount of danger surrounding the UN peacekeepers that are in the country. Next month, this 90-day mandate for the Syrian mission, the UN Syrian mission, expires. And some council members may not be willing to renew this mandate if they feel that the UN observers will be in danger if they are in Syria, which has now been deemed a civil war.
Well, meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is alleging that a new shipment of attack helicopters were en route from Russia to Syria, but refused to reveal her sources. The Pentagon was subsequently put in an awkward position, admitting it had no knowledge of any such shipment. Well, Clinton also claimed that Kofi Annan is putting together an international team to ease the Syrian leader out of power. She includes Russia in the list, even though it's opposed to any idea of foreign-sponsored regime change. Well, despite these developments, many analysts are convinced that Annan's six-point peace plan remains Syria's only hope.
I think the situation has reached very dangerous proportions, and there are civilians that are being killed. And today we had there were some pictures of horrible massacres where children have been targeted and innocent civilians. And I think, however, it's not too late. I mean, I'm afraid that perhaps the statement given by the United Nations may be a desperate call. Yes, but it's not the end of the road. There is still a chance to actually have a ceasefire, to have the plan that has been laid out in the past by Kofi Annan implemented, to have a ceasefire and go for the political dialogue. There's no military solution. There cannot be a military solution. And in fact, what the Western powers are calling for, military interference, is an insane initiative. It will not lead to any progress in the situation. It will only make the situation worse.